My name is Peggy Adams, President of the League of Women Voters, Flint Area. With partners Communities First Incorporated, represented by Lori Ross, and Flint Beat, represented by Scott Atkinson, we share a purpose to engage, empower, and educate Flint voters. We're happy to bring you a virtual community forum today to help you decide which candidate for Flint City Council in your ward will get your vote. Questions will be asked by representatives from Flint Beat and the League of Women Voters, while Communities First Incorporated staff will ensure the forum remains on time and on schedule. All candidates who have qualified to be on the ballot, as well as write-in candidates registered with the clerk's office by September 24th, were invited. Only write-ins who are registered with the clerk's office can be counted in an election. Because of our time constraints, we could not accommodate write-in candidates who registered after September 24th. Some candidates chose not to participate. All were informed they would need to comply with certain rules, such as refraining from comments on other persons and only taking the opportunity to tell voters about their own qualifications, priorities, and outlook. All candidates are asked the same questions, and all have the same 2 minutes to answer them. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this today and for being an engaged citizen.
I can't hear you.
You're muted, Scott.
Sorry, everybody. All right, welcome. Thank you for everyone for joining us. I'm Scott Atkinson from Flint Beat. I'm joined by Lori Ross from Communities First, Inc. and 3rd Ward write-in candidate Richard Jones. Candidates Quincy Murphy and AC Dumas declined to participate today. So Richard, could you start by giving us a brief introduction of yourself and a summary of the qualifications and skills you possess that would make you an asset as a council member?
Well, I have been a resident of the 3rd Ward for 45 of my 54 years here on Earth. And then during those years when I wasn't a resident of Flint, I was in and out of Flint on the regular. So on the worst year, I may have only been in Flint for like 3 months out of the 12, out of them years. So, and far as what's going on in the 3rd Ward, I have basically experienced it. And as far as my political qualifications and activism is, it all started at the age of 19 as a volunteer at Christ Fellowship Church, to where God showed me then that I was just blessed, basically, far as knowledge and accomplishments and ideas and stuff. Like one of the ideas that I have is that I'm bringing back, which I'm finding out now that I'm bringing it back. I really thought I was inventing something, but anyway, the 1st and the 3rd Saturdays of the month, I'm starting to host community meetings to where the people, and they're called the 3rd Ward Speaks. And that's when the 3rd Ward residents can come in and, tell me what's going on. And the reason why I do that is because the 2nd and the 4th Mondays is our council meetings. So I can go to my committee meetings, talk to my community, and then go to our council meeting. And that's what needs to be had. The streets need to be heard and served instead of we electing people to tell us what on their idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Second question. What are the 3 most pressing issues facing your community or your ward? And if elected, how would you address those?
Pride is the #1 issue addressing my ward. As y'all already know, that Eric Mays received over 1,000 votes the last time he ran for office. And this ward didn't even have 1,000 people to vote. So pride got to be installed. And like I said, during the 1st and the 3rd meetings, hopefully we can start coming together, talking. I really want to meet the young folks and see what's on their mind and try to integrate some of their ideas. And I want to get a hold to the people that do not vote, because I want to find out why they don't vote and maybe show them some things and the importance of them becoming voters, so we can start, changing the quality of life in the third ward. I also would like to start a tenant to home ownership program, to where tenants who have good rental history will be able to take that same payment plan and then in a couple of years own a home, versus you can rent an apartment all your life. I mean, we got people 70, 80 years old, never been a homeowner before. We need to stop that trend, and we need to stop thinking about building so many apartment complexes and thinking about encouraging people to become homeowners and bringing some pride back. And my third thing, which all three of them is very important, is we got to think of some kind of export business. And what I mean by that, something to bring money in Flint, like a national brand, national brands. And because the
Thanks, Richard.
circulation that's going on now. Oh, thank you, time.
Yep, that's time. Thank you so much.
All right. I missed the right one.
No worries. What best practices would you employ when making decisions on behalf of the city?
Well, like I said before, I would talk to my residents. I will have an open communicating with not only my residents, but the residents of Flint. And I will say that if my residents say they want me to do something, and I'll be like, I really don't want to do it, I will say, I don't want to do this, but y'all want me to do it, so I'm gonna do it. And that's hope that whatever way I decide to vote, whether they're voting with me, whether they speaking against me, whether we at odds or whatever, that whatever decision I make do become the best decision for the ward, because I do not want to. We already in a serious decline, and I really want to change that. Like I said, we don't have pride. I'm out here in the street. Some people cuss me out just because I'm running for office. And the way the layout of it is, it's a lot of roadblocks that shouldn't be roadblocks. It should be a helping hand instead of a roadblocks that's trying to stop the people and everything from coming together. It's too many people that is capitalizing off of this small percentage of our city that votes. And we got to change that. Otherwise than that, we're going to continue to lose our ward. Let me say one thing. I'm just now having not being able to walk 95% because it took me 2.5 hours to find 40 houses to drop a piece of literature in. 2.5 hours.
Thanks, Richard. Next question. What efforts, if any, would you take as an elected leader to ensure transparency and access in governance?
I'm already doing it. I have been hosting these first and third Saturdays meeting now for a little over 2 months. And a couple of months I did all 4 Saturdays.
All right, and how are you going to keep our communities safe and clean?
Well, hopefully, the turnaround has started with this new trash company. From my understanding is we supposed to be having a community meeting with this trash company. I have already had a conversation with the mayor to where I have proposed a 30-day kick it to the curve scenario. And hopefully I can put all 3 of them together once me and the the community and this garbage company come together, because on that day, I'm going to propose that on garbage day for 30 days, whatever we can get to any curve in Flint, they pick up on garbage day. That's the number one thing. I feel that once we can get that established, to get all of our garbage picked up on garbage day, no matter if it's a blight house, a land bank house, a rental house, absent landlord house, if it's on the curve, let's get it picked up. And once we can get that established and we can start as a community, start to pull some of the stuff that's been pushed back to the curve on garbage days, we get 4 or 5 of them garbage days go by, we can have our city clean. And then I would like for that to continue to keep it clean.
All right, and last question. How would you approach balancing the city's budget?
Ooh, now that's a tough one. But the first thing I would do, I would stabilize our water fund. We have $47.5 million right now. So the first thing I would do, I would stabilize that water fund with that money. And I would use all of the language, including how broad that the package is rolled up. And it can easily be done. All you have to do is go and find out where you're sure that and plug it in. And also, with that being said, after I stabilize the water fund, the first thing I would do, I would zero balance all of our residents' water accounts. And I will go back and hopefully I can dig and fix up some more sore spots and offer these people who have been paying their water bill, no matter what percentage of their water bill they've been paying, I would like to give them 60% of that back. And I feel they deserve that back.
All right. Well, Richard Jones, thank you so much for joining us today, write-in candidate for the 3rd Ward. We appreciate your time.
And I appreciate y'all time and thank you for giving me a voice. And we ain't gonna say nothing negative. So, but I really appreciate y'all. Y'all can see how the write-ins are being treated. And I really appreciate y'all for stepping out, because no one else is trying to offer us any platform. So I really appreciate y'all for that. Thank you very much.
My name is Peggy Adams, President of the League of Women Voters, Flint Area. With partners Communities First Incorporated, represented by Lori Ross, and Flint Beat, represented by Scott Atkinson, we share a purpose to engage, empower, and educate Flint voters. We're happy to bring you a virtual community forum today to help you decide which candidate for Flint City Council in your ward will get your vote. Questions will be asked by representatives from Flint Beat and the League of Women Voters, while Communities First Incorporated staff will ensure the forum remains on time and on schedule. All candidates who have qualified to be on the ballot, as well as write-in candidates registered with the clerk's office by September 24th, were invited. Only write-ins who are registered with the clerk's office can be counted in an election. Because of our time constraints, we could not accommodate write-in candidates who registered after September 24th. Some candidates chose not to participate. All were informed they would need to comply with certain rules, such as refraining from comments on other persons and only taking the opportunity to tell voters about their own qualifications, priorities, and outlook. All candidates are asked the same questions, and all have the same 2 minutes to answer them. Thank you so much for for taking the time to watch this today and for being an engaged citizen.
All right, thank you for joining us. My name is Scott Atkinson, Managing Editor of Flint Beat. I am joined today by Peggy Adams from the League of Women Voters, Lori Ross from Communities First, Inc., and incumbent for the 4th Ward City Council, Kate Fields. Candidate Judy Priestley is not joining us today. So Ms. Fields, the first question, could you just give us a brief introduction of yourself and the qualifications and skills you possess that you think make you a good candidate to continue to serve on City Council?
Okay. Well, I have a bit of an unusual background in public administration. I have both a bachelor's and a master's degree in public administration, which is concerned with the management and functioning of government. So I think I have quite a few qualifications to actually try to serve on council, which is a legislative body, but also address constituent concerns. I also had created and ran a nonprofit community development corporation in the east side of Flint for about 15 years that was concerned with the provision of low-income housing and housing counseling, etc., for the east side of Flint. So I have backgrounds from many different angles. I also taught at the University of Michigan in their master's program of public administration and actually created multiple courses to help teach individuals who wanted to get involved in public administration. I did that for about 15 years as well. Does that answer the question?
It does, thank you.
You're welcome.
And now to the next one. What do you view as the 3 most pressing issues facing the community, and how will you address them?
Well, we have so many issues facing our community, it's hard to choose just 3, but I will tell you most of the complaints I get from constituents, and I get calls 24/7 from people that are having problems, and they want me, their city council person, to help solve their problem. And sometimes it's something that is within the functioning and authority of city government, and sometimes it is not. But citizens really don't understand the role of the legislative branch. We can only work with the administration, who is the implementing or executive branch, and we can simply try to get the administration to cooperate with us when a constituent calls us and they've identified a problem. So some of the problems people are most concerned about is basically what's happening in their neighborhoods. They're very concerned about public safety, the violence, the gun usage, the shootings. They want the violence to stop and the shootings to stop. They're also very concerned with blight, how their neighborhoods look, and addressing blight. And that includes everything from the homeowners themselves or renters creating the blight to outside dumping, and how the city addresses those problems. Unfortunately, the blight problems are so huge in the city of Flint, the available funding and resources to deal with it really have not been adequate to sufficiently address the problem. And the third one, I know just the conditions of the neighborhood and people collaborating and getting along and working towards using their positions to help the residents.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So what best practices would you employ, or are you currently employing, when making decisions on behalf of the city?
Well, anytime an issue comes before City Council, I am known for doing very thorough research. I like to see the actual documents. I like to go through all of my agendas and all the attachments, the supplemental materials. So I'm assured to myself that I'm understanding what issues are involved in a resolution that's being brought before us. For example, the recent waste contract that was brought before us. It was fairly complex. It was exacerbated by the fact that the city had to bid out this contract twice, and that there was a lot of contentious dialogue on city council about this contract, but I think we eventually came up with, I think the administration recommended the right company, and I think they've been doing a pretty good job. Few, slow false starts because they didn't have much time to get prepared, but that's the type of work that I do. I like to research and be thoroughly informed before I cast my vote.
The next question is, what efforts would you take, should you be reelected, to make sure there's transparency and access in governance?
Well, I'll tell you, I did one thing this past year. Our city ordinances are by law, by charter, supposed to be up on our city website. So everybody knows what the law is. All right. So, for example, you can't get a ticket for something if we've not told you that there's a law, saying that you have to or can't do such and such. And I had been hearing from the clerk because our ordinances weren't even available past 2012. No ordinances past 2012 were available on the city website, and they have to be put together in a called codification and published with American Legal Publishing. That's a company we use. And I really publicly pushed the city clerk to make that a priority to get those ordinances up to date. And as a result, now you can go to the city website and you can do a search on any topic. For example, parking on lawns, right? Or whatever issue you're interested in, you can see what city ordinance exists about that topic. So that's the type of approach I take, both practical and best practices. I mean, we have to be transparent with the public in every way we possibly can, whether it's financial, programs, functioning, laws, actions. So that was a very practical example I just gave you.
Okay.
So the next question, how are you going to ensure that our community stays safe and clean?
Well, that's a big task, isn't it? By continuing to do everything I am doing, which is I support everything the current administration has brought us to when they're telling us these are resources necessary for the police in order for them to provide services to the public and keep the public safe. So once again, I do my research before I cast my vote. But if I think this is a very good idea, then I will cast my vote to provide that support, for example, for public safety. I'm sorry, what was the second half of your question?
Safety
and blight.
Clean.
And clean, okay. Well, clean, for example, I myself have been out there picking up garbage off private properties, which I don't really think, and don't get me wrong, I appreciate every volunteer cleanup that's gone on and that exists in this city. But what I believe we need to do, and this is where my background comes in, I've been trying to work with the law office that if there's an ordinance that says if you create blight, we can go ticket you, okay? I don't just want the ticket put on the property, because what happens is too often these homeowners are letting the property go back to the land bank. They're letting it go into foreclosure rather than pay these assorted fines and penalties that they're being assessed. So what I would like to see is I would like to see our law department literally go after the bank accounts of these individuals that are creating this blight and these problems in the city. And I think that, you get your bank account garnished, you might think twice about throwing your garbage out on your front lawn. Something I'm working on.
Our final question has to do with the budget. What's your approach to balancing the budget?
Well, it's well known that we are facing a real problem coming up in 22-23 because of our pension costs, our legacy costs. And it's showing that because the company that manages these funds, they set the rate of how much we have to pay for every year. And unfortunately, the amount we have to pay has been going up and up, and we can't control that. We simply have to pay it, or we're in violation of state law, state and federal law. So the question is, how do we increase revenues to be able to take care of these legacy costs, which is the most pressing? I mean, of course, day-to-day operations, you have to take care of services for the people in the city, but the amount and level of services we can give them is limited by how much money is left over after these legacy costs are paid for. So I personally would like to see us working with our state legislators to come up with a plan that helps not only Flint, but multiple communities across the state of Michigan that have the exact same problem that we're facing. Deficits because of rising legacy costs. So that's something I think needs to have great attention paid to it in the upcoming budgets.
Thank you. That concludes our questions for today.
Pretty painless.